Hey Zoe, good to see you.
Julia, it's so great to see you. I'm so excited to talk all things PR and
PR, I
media
know,
today.
our favorite topic. So let's kick things off. PR is a doorway, it's not the destination. And we're here to talk today about why it's an ecosystem and not just a media hit. A media hit is only like a small percent of PR's value. And it's then what you do with those hits and all the other things that you're doing in your communications plan that make the value for a brand.
And there's so many opportunities now. We were just talking about that used to be, there was media, there was traditional print and just regular media. And now, that has completely changed. There's very much an evolving media landscape. And so brands really do, need to look at so many other areas in terms of, communicating their messaging and engaging with their audiences.
Yeah. And I think people always thought of paid media as something that was only advertising, but paid media is very much a part of PR right now because the business models of media have changed so much. The audiences have changed. And so paid is a really strong tool to use. And I think the thing that people get confused is they think that they can just do like one part and they'll get the results, or they think that PR is sales, and which is the biggest misunderstanding. PR builds belief and earns trust, and then marketing moves money, and then there's the sales. But you have to get people to know, like, and trust you before any of that sales or traffic transaction is going to take place.
Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with founders and brands about, because it is such a dynamic landscape right now, and kind of how the best way to approach things. And there's been, it's different now than it was a year ago, which is really interesting to me. But it keeps you on your toes. It's constantly figuring out like what are and each brand is nuanced and different. And so it's like, how do you do the right thing for that brand at that specific time?
Right. I think people need to just think about where their audiences are, and they're in so many fractured places, and you have to work backwards from that rather than say, we just want earned media coverage, because that's not going to achieve the end goal that they really want. And we spend so much time sort of educating about, like, think of media just as another form of content creators. They are the original journalists are like the original content creators, but now we also have influencers who are the content creators, and just regular old people on social, on their own platforms and chat rooms. And the brands really need to know their audiences better and how they're behaving. And I think that's where we come in as storytellers and figure out, you need to be telling these stories in these places. And then once that is happening, you need to feed that into the marketing system and amplify it in your ads and social and all the other places to get the max value.
There's also a huge opportunity, I think, for founders and CEOs and stakeholders to really build up their platforms. These days, there are so many amazing owned channels. Obviously, LinkedIn, shout out to LinkedIn Live and the board. There's TikTok, there's Substack. I mean, there's all of these really amazing individuals that are thought leaders and experts and doing amazing things. And there's many owned channels that they can really build up their platforms and hone their voices and speak to their audiences in a very organic and authentic way, and create a true kind of emotional connection with their customer, with their audience. And that is something that, you really wasn't happening 10 years ago, or not nearly as much as it is now.
Exactly. And I think the biggest thing there is strategy, because like you said, visibility without strategy is like a wasted budget. You know, if you don't have a strategy for what you're going to do in all of those places and a unified story, then it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and, you know, wasting time, effort, and money.
Yes, the strategy is key. And that does often get overlooked. I think brands, individuals get so excited to kind of engage and start PR and get press and do activations and get on social media. And it's always, and I'm sure you do a lot of this, Julia, a lot of kind of taking a step back and really identifying like, where are we now? Where do we want to go? What are the opportunities? And what do we need to do to get there? Right.
Yeah. I had a potential client recently say, we want earned media, but the reason for wanting it was not what they were going to get, even if we got that for them. So it's like starting with the goals. What do you really want to happen? And then how to get there, and what are all the tools, because we have so many of them now, which is the exciting part, is that there's so many places. You just have to, you know, the messaging is like the engine behind each channel.
That's right. And really kind of, I think also, you know, for brands looking at, you know, whether they have specific, you know, moments ahead of them or milestones or launches, or, you know, there's so many different things like that, you know, what is it? It's not just looking at kind of when that is about to happen or when that happens, but really being strategic about it and formulating the right plan to kind of build up to that, because then you can really optimize everything that you're doing, and it makes the world of difference. And, you know, going back to own channels for brands and stakeholders, there's so many ways to create more and more content now, and just like more ways to put yourself out there. And it's just something that I have conversations about every day, and where I'm really excited about, because it does make a huge difference.
It does. I think one of the mistakes I see brands making is that they don't bring all the people involved to the table. There are these distinct conversations with the social team or the content creator team, the PR team, the marketing team. And so everybody's off like doing things without knowing what the others are doing. And it has to be integrated, because it is all connected. The lines are all so blurred, and you're not going to get what you're really looking for unless everybody is united with the same story and and their skill is in knowing each of those platforms. But the strategy more or less has to be unified for all those places that people are talking to their customers, patients, clients, voters, whatever the target audience is. I mean, and people, and we forget sometimes, because we live in such a digital space, that like in real life events are a thing, and people want that human connection, and that, you know, taking your story offline to the ground is important. Pop-ups, you know, sampling, being at events, showing your face wherever at the right places is also a huge part of PR.
That's a great
overlooked.
Great point, Julia. It is so not just, it's IRL is more important than ever. And whether that's, you know, an activation, or just, you know, people, brand representatives, stakeholders being out and about and making connections and kind of being at the forefront. And that's just essential.
It is. I could have these conversations with you, Zoe, all day long. I know we're coming up on the time, and thank you for tuning in, everyone. We are members of the board, which is an incredible community of executives in communications, marketing, sales. Connect with us on LinkedIn, and come back this time next week for another pair of board members who will be live on a new piping hot story. So stay tuned to the board to see who's coming next.
Thanks for joining.
See you soon.